Mystery, welcome. Thank you for being here. Today, I would like to put my personal perspective on what I would say is not one of the most serious things that can happen to you in a cult or a mind control group or it just even more specifically being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. There are lots of things that can happen to you that are terrible. Um, you could lose your life for not taking a blood transfusion. You could be abused as a child or as a wife and be silenced for that. Um, you could be you could be harassed and demeaned for your sexuality. You could be shunned. All of those things are very serious things that can happen to you, and they don't happen to everybody. I would say I don't think any of those things happened to me so far. I guess I was mildly shunned, but who cares? um, but what I really want to talk about today is something that seems a little more mild, but something that I think it affects. Um, it's just one of those things that chips away at your life, at the quality of your life. And so what I was wanting to talk about was the things that we are made to throw away. And they can be big and small. And I basically want to talk about the small things, but maybe a little bit about the big things. The big things, I'm just going to do an overview and say you can throw away your youth, your education, your life as far as maybe you're finding your soulmate, something like that. Your hobbies, those things can be discarded, thrown away, and but all of the things that are thrown away, I want to say too, can be, not all of them, but a lot of them can be replaced. So when I was I want to start here as an adult and being in the religion that I felt that I wanted to try again to do what I felt was right and to become a good Jehovah's Witness. So I was married, and my husband didn't have my beliefs, but he was very amenable to them. He would come to the meetings with me, and he was pretty much on board for a while. We had a neighbor, an older man, who was very kind and very sweet, and he would go to the flea markets, and he asked me what kind of books I liked to read. And I don't know if I was solidly in the truth or in the religion at that point, or if I was like halfway in and halfway out kind of thing. But I always did enjoy Stephen King writing, Stephen King books. I love them. And so I told him that I liked Stephen King. And so he would, if he would find a used book at the flea markets, he would look for the Stephen King ones and give them to me. And it was so precious, and I was building a good collection. I had a very nice collection, and I was proud of it, and I felt good about it, and I was happy with it. But I mean, there's this little part of me inside that says, I would try to justify. It's like it's not you're always, as a Jehovah's Witness, especially the way I took it, was you were always having to scrutinize every form of entertainment, writing, reading, books, music, anything like that, movies, whatever, TV shows, everything had to be scrutinized, and if it would hurt your conscience, because they trained your conscience to think everything was evil and offensive to Jehovah. And so, it was just one of those things. Well, I was enjoying the gifts, and I took the gifts, and I appreciated the collection that he was helping to build, and to, it was just we were friends, and he was being nice to me, and I was appreciative, and I loved him. But once I got into, my second husband and I were trying to do the church thing, and I had told him that if I was going to go to church, it has to be my religion, which is Jehovah's Witnesses. That's how I was raised, and so we have to do that. And he was like, he was willing to try and see what it was like, and he kind of thought it was cool for some reason or another at first. But so I was becoming more and more zealous, and I was cleaning through, and I had decided that I had to throw away my Stephen King collection because it was offensive to Jehovah. It was about ghosts and supernatural things, and all of those, fantasy and magic and all that was forbidden. So I got rid of those things, and it crushes me now to even think about it now that I did that. My second husband there, the same husband, he had bought a video game for me. It was Pharaoh, where you build the civilization, and I loved that game. I really, really, really loved it. But it always kind of ticked at me because in order to progress in the game, your society depended on these gods in the game. And so I decided that because of that, I needed to throw that away. So I threw away the gift that my husband gave me of the video game that I loved. And then at some point, my husband, who was very outdoorsy and exuberant and athletic, and he needed some kind of hobby because he was very young. He was feeling, I think, that he was missing out on stuff. So I encouraged him to find a hobby, and he chose rock climbing. And that was very fine, but we were both going to the meetings, and the elders quickly found out about that and told us that he cannot do that because he can't be risking his life. It's risky. It's life. It's like risking your life. So it would be offensive to Jehovah, and it's not allowed in Jehovah's society. So from that point on, he pretty much stopped coming and gave up soon. And I don't blame him. He wasn't indoctrinated like I was, and he knew that was too far to be micromanaging our lives the way they were. And so, those things are gone. And that reminds me also of the bigger things that we throw away. We throw away our opportunities for education. We throw away our opportunities of, maybe having a connection with a worldly person. And we could have had a friendship or some other kind of relationship. We throw away jobs opportunities because they don't match with the requirements of our meeting attendance and other things that we're required to do as Jehovah's Witnesses. So we throw away a lot of things. And I was thinking about, this question of, that it changes our life path. It makes our life path what it is, and it leads us to where we are as people. And a lot of those things can be recovered, even though you can't recover the time slot that was, that those things were a part of, and the time in life that you would have appreciated them more. I'm speaking mostly about your education, and things like that. I think about, too, more seriously, a lot of people in the organization stay single for their lives, stay virgins and single for their whole lives because they never find a mate. And so they've thrown away their reproductive abilities, their chances at companionship that they seem to want, and they pray for it, and they wait for it, but still it may never come, and it may come, but it may come late in life, but there's so many things that we have to throw away. And I want to say, too, that I realize that Jehovah's Witnesses are not the only religion that causes these harms. Other religions also cause a great deal of mental harms and psychological harms. But I think something about being in this extremely controlling group, it's a whole new layer of loss for people, as opposed to other religious people who are in mainstream society. But that's not to say that there aren't other cult members other kinds of cults who suffer the same sorts of things, or even fundamental Christianity, fundamental Islam, any kind of thing where they're extreme in their views and demand so much from their peoples. But a lot of those things can be recovered, and I would say that coming out of the religion and realize, I have those regrets that I lost those things, but I have recovered some things. It's a long story, really, but I want to give you this one story too. My mom, when we were little, she was the same. She went through the same thing I did. If we had anything magical, fantasy, had to do with any kind of sorcery or magic or supernatural things, or even things that aren't real, like fairies or something like that, those kinds of things are totally scary to us. Anything that it might bring demons to us is it's not only offensive to Jehovah, but it could attract demons into our house. And so that's the kind of fear that we had, for this, and how serious it was. So my mom, I would say too, she gave me, she read to me as a little baby before I was able even to talk, and she would read to me. And so I had this very early, long life love of reading and books and so forth. And so when I was really little, we had some really cool books, fairy tale books. And, this was back in the early 70s. And, if you think about having, if you could have those treasured books right now, how that would feel just to be able to look through those books again, But, that's one of those things that got disappeared as I was growing up by my mom because it was offensive to Jehovah. So, I got to thinking about it about maybe 5 years ago or so, and I was like, I really miss that one book. It was so beautiful and had such cool stories, and I really want to read them again because it had long stories in it, even though it was a child's book, and the illustrations were amazing. And so I went online and I found copies of it. They're out of print, but for like $75, I found one, and so I want to show it to you. It is so cool. It's called A Book of Fairy Tales, and it's very, very cool. Oh gosh, you gotta see this. Illustrated by Janet and Anne Graham Johnstone, and 1977 edition. I believe this is the same one I had, so I would have been like 5 years old when it came out. But yeah, it's so beautiful, and I mean, it's just exactly the way I remember it. You see how pretty these pictures are, and the stories are amazing. I just love this book. And, this is a bit of my childhood I got back. See, look, here's a witch. But it's just the coolest illustrations and stories. Oh my goodness. Regretfully, I don't have any children, so I can't read these to them, but maybe I'd read them online if it was allowed. Oh, look at these beautiful fairies and princesses. But anyway, of course, now, if it was my book, it would have, like, all kinds of wear and tear and marks in it that I made and stuff. And so I don't have that. But, oh, look, here's Puss in Boots. Cool story here. Puss in Boots. But anyway, I want to say that, you can recover some of those things that are lost. Not everything. And whatever has happened to you up until now has made you who you are. And, we have clearer eyes than a lot of people. We can see where disinformation comes in, misinformation can manipulate people and so forth. And so we probably have a more keener ability to detect falsehoods and things like that. I feel that I probably do. I'm more skeptical about beliefs and things like that. But I also want to pose this question too. What do you think? Do you think that we wasted our lives when we wasted this time with the religion that turned out to be untrue? Was it a waste, or was it just living? I sometimes find myself thinking that I've wasted my life in some way, and this can happen to any person, not just in a religious cult, but a person could often look back and think that they might have wasted their time with maybe a bad relationship or something like that. But was it really wasted, or was it just a way of life? It's just a form of living. It's just the living that we did. I guess it doesn't really matter, because all that matters now is the present. And, we can make the best out of what we have, and I'm just really excited about where things are going from here on out. For me and for the whole world, because so many people are waking up. And not only Jehovah's Witnesses waking up, but other cults are waking up. Other people who are in mainstream religion are waking up and seeing that it's so important to be nice and kind to each other, to not be judgmental, to be more tolerant, and to protect the earth is what I'm really hoping that more people will wake up to see. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you so much for coming, for joining my day. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful day.